If you feel like the last 10 years were wasted, burned, gone, unrecoverable, you're asking the wrong question. The real question isn't whether those years were lost. It's whether you can recognize the exact moment God starts handing them back. I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten. Joel 2:25. That's not a metaphor. That's a legal promise. And most people miss the moment it activates because they're still mourning what's gone instead of watching for what's coming. 7 signs mark that exact moment in order, and they rarely show up the way people expect. Miss them, and restoration passes you by completely unnoticed, disguised as coincidence. Recognize them, and everything about the last decade gets recalculated. Sign 1. Compressed timelines. Something happens in weeks that should have taken years. A door opens without the years of dues you assumed you still owed. Most people panic here, honestly. It feels too fast, undeserved, almost suspicious, like a trap waiting to close. That panic is the tell. God isn't slow-walking your comeback to match your calendar or your comfort level with waiting. He's collapsing time itself, because the years the locust ate don't need to be relived to be counted. They need to be repaid all at once if necessary. The boundary: don't slow yourself down trying to earn a pace that was never yours to set. Match the speed, or you'll spend the restoration window explaining to people why you're moving so fast. Sign 2. Old rejections reversing. A door that slammed shut years ago opens again, and this time it opens from the inside. The same people who closed it, the same room you were escorted out of. A completely different outcome waiting on the other side. This isn't nostalgia, and it isn't a coincidence dressed up as one. It's evidence. Rejection was never the final verdict on your life. It was a holding pattern with an expiration date nobody told you about. The boundary here is brutal. Walk back through that door bitter, still keeping score, and you'll poison the exact restoration you spent years praying for. Walk back through it clean, without needing an apology first. And every year lost in that rejection gets reclassified, not as punishment, but as preparation you couldn't see the point of at the time. Sign 3. Skills you buried suddenly matter again. The thing you quit out of exhaustion, the talent you shelved out of shame, the language you stopped speaking because nobody around you valued it, the trade you walked away from convinced it had been a waste of years. It resurfaces without warning, and suddenly it's the exact skill the current moment requires, no substitute available. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:11. Nothing you set down along the way was actually wasted. It was stored in a room you didn't know existed, waiting for a door that hadn't opened yet. 7 signs. 3 are already behind you. And if even one has already happened in your life, restoration isn't a future hope anymore. It's currently in motion, whether you've named it yet or not. Sign 7 is the one that confirms it beyond any doubt. But right now, look at what trips up almost everyone at this exact stage, because it's not what you'd expect. Sign 4. The grief lifts without an explanation. Most people assume restoration will feel like vindication, loud and satisfying. It doesn't. It feels quieter than that, and far less dramatic than the years of loss it's actually replacing, which is exactly why so many people walk right past it without noticing. One day, the years you couldn't talk about without your voice breaking simply stop hurting, and nothing external changed to cause it. No apology arrived in the mail. No do-over was offered by the people who cost you the time. The grief just lifted, quietly, like a debt marked paid somewhere you weren't shown. That's not denial, and it's not you finally getting over it through sheer effort. That's the internal ledger closing before the external evidence has even caught up to confirm it. Quick reset, because this is the sign people talk themselves out of the fastest, right when it starts working. 4 signs down. Every single one points to the same hidden mechanic. Restoration starts on the inside and works its way outward, never the other way around, no matter how much you want visible proof first. Hold that thought, because sign 5 is exactly where most people accidentally sabotage the entire process without realizing it. Sign 5. You stop explaining the gap. You stop justifying the missing years on your resume, your timeline, your testimony, your dating profile, wherever the gap keeps getting questioned. You stop performing an apology for time you didn't waste on purpose, even to people who were never entitled to an explanation in the first place. I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten, Joel 2:25. Repayment isn't owed to the people asking questions about where you were. It's owed by God to you directly, on His timeline, not theirs. The boundary. Keep defending the gap out loud, and you'll keep living inside it long after the repayment has already started. Sign 6. Disproportionate harvest. Instead of their shame, my people will receive a double portion. Isaiah 61:7. Watch for that exact ratio. Double, not equal, because equal restoration would just be fairness. This is something else entirely. The return outweighs the effort so obviously that even outsiders notice and ask what you did differently, expecting a strategy, a secret, a system they can copy. There isn't one. You didn't do more. You're being paid interest on years that were sitting dormant, not dead. The whole time you assumed they were gone for good. The Lord will make your storehouses overflow, and it will look mathematically wrong to anyone watching from the outside, because by their math, it is. Restoration doesn't follow your effort curve. It follows a completely different ledger, one you were never shown until now. None of the first 6 signs matter if you misread the 7th. Sign 7. Peace where comparison used to live. You look at people who never lost the years you lost, who walked a straight line while you walked through a decade of wreckage, and for the first time, there's no ache when you do it. Not because you finally disciplined yourself out of comparing, because the comparison stopped making mathematical sense once you saw what the years were actually producing. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, Romans 8:28. Not some things. All things, including the years you were absolutely certain were unsalvageable, unrecoverable, gone for nothing. This is the part almost nobody explains clearly. Restoration was never going to give you the exact years back. It was never going to look like time travel. It looks like the fruit those years should have produced showing up anyway, on a different branch, in a different season, in a shape you never would have requested if you'd been given the choice. The reason so few people recognize it happening in real time is simple. They're still waiting for an apology the universe was never obligated to send, while the actual repayment was already 3 or 4 signs deep and moving quietly in the background the entire time, unannounced, uninterested in getting credit. So ask the real question, the one sitting underneath all 7 signs. Not, why did I lose those years? But, am I watching closely enough right now to see them being repaid, in a currency I wasn't expecting and wouldn't have chosen for myself? Because the moment you stop mourning the years and start actually watching for the repayment, the first thing that shifts isn't your circumstances, your bank account, or your calendar.